It's a perfect Saturday afternoon. 37 people are gathered in a backyard singing happy birthday to a sweet 10-year-old girl. The candles flicker on her 3-tier strawberry cake. Everyone's smiling. Cameras are flashing. But when the lights come back on, the birthday girl has vanished into thin air. No screams, no struggle, no trace, and hidden inside that beautiful birthday cake. A secret so dark, so carefully planned, that it would leave seasoned detectives questioning everything they thought they knew about missing children cases. This isn't just a story about a disappearance. It's about a child so brave, so clever that she orchestrated her own rescue before she was even taken. Welcome to one of the most extraordinary cases you'll ever hear. This is the story of Lily Rose Morris, and before we dive into what happened that day, you need to understand who Lily was. Born on May 12, 1994 in the quiet suburb of Willowbrook, Ohio, Lily wasn't your typical 10-year-old. Teachers described her as unusually observant and mature beyond her years. She had this habit of noticing things others missed, like when her neighbor Mrs. Henderson was hiding bruises, or when her best friend's parents were fighting behind closed doors. Her mother, Sarah Morris, always said Lily had old soul eyes, the kind that seemed to see through people's masks. The Morris family lived in a modest 2-story colonial on Maple Street. Tom Morris worked as an insurance adjuster. Sarah was a part-time school librarian. They were the kind of family that knew all their neighbors' names, attended PTA meetings, and hosted block parties. But every family has secrets. And the Morris family was no exception. You see, Tom had a brother, Gregory Morris, 5 years older, charming when he wanted to be, but with a history that Tom preferred to keep buried. Greg had spent the last 3 years in Mansfield Correctional Institution for embezzlement and fraud. Tom had told everyone, including Sarah, that Greg was working out west and they'd lost touch, but that was about to change in the most terrifying way possible. May 12, 2004. The morning started like any other birthday morning. Lily woke up to pancakes shaped like flowers, presents wrapped in purple paper, her favorite color, and the promise of a party that would be the best one yet, according to her mom. Sarah had spent weeks planning. She'd hired Bobby the balloon artist, rented a bouncy castle, and ordered that magnificent 3-tier strawberry cream cake from Henderson's Bakery, the fancy place downtown that cost twice what she'd normally spend. But this was Lily's 10th birthday. Double digits deserved something special. By 2 p.m., the backyard was transformed. Streamers hung from the old oak tree. Tables groaned under the weight of pizza boxes and juice pouches, and kids were already bouncing themselves dizzy on the inflatable castle. But at 2:47 p.m., something happened that would change everything. A car pulled up, a rusty blue Chevy that Tom didn't recognize at first. The door opened, and out stepped a man in his mid-30s wearing a polo shirt that had seen better days and a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Gregory Morris had come home. "Surprise!" he called out, arms spread wide. "Couldn't miss my favorite niece's big day." Tom's face went white. Sarah looked confused. She'd never met Greg, only heard vague mentions over the years. But before Tom could react, Lily came running over. "Uncle Greg," she squealed, though she'd only met him twice in her life, both times when she was too young to remember clearly. Greg scooped her up, spun her around, and for a moment, everything seemed normal. Families have complicated histories, right? Maybe Tom had been too harsh keeping his brother away. But Lily noticed something the adults missed. When Greg hugged her, she felt something hard pressed against his side. And when he set her down, she caught a glimpse of his wrist, raw and red, like something had been wrapped around it recently. Greg immediately made himself useful. He helped arrange tables, charmed the other parents with stories about his work out west, and even volunteered to help cut the cake later. The perfect, helpful brother, making up for lost time. Tom pulled Sarah aside around 3:30. "We need to talk," he whispered urgently. "That's my brother Greg. He's supposed to be working in Colorado, I know," Sarah interrupted. "So why is he here?" "I don't know, but something's not right. He looks different." What Tom didn't know was that Lily had been watching them, and she'd been listening too. At 4:15 p.m., while the kids were distracted by Bobby's balloon animals, Lily went inside to use the bathroom. The house felt strangely quiet after the chaos of the backyard. That's when she heard voices coming from her father's study. The door was slightly ajar and two familiar voices were having a heated conversation. "Told you never to contact us again," Tom was saying, his voice strained. "Things changed, Tommy. I'm out now, and I need... No. Whatever you need, the answer is no. Sarah doesn't even know about... About what? About the money you borrowed from me? About where that money came from? About what happens to people who don't pay back their debts?" Lily pressed closer to the door. Her heart was pounding so loud she was afraid they'd hear it. "I paid you back every cent before you went away. We're even." Greg's laugh was cold. "Even? Brother, you have no idea what even looks like. See, while I was inside, I had a lot of time to think about family loyalty, about who I can trust, and I realized something important." There was a long pause. Lily held her breath. "The only person who can hurt me now is someone who knows too much about my business, someone who might talk to the wrong people. I would never, not you, Tommy, her." Another pause. Longer this time. "Lily. Smart girl. Too smart. She sees things, remembers things. Kids talk, Tommy. They tell teachers, friends, counselors. They draw pictures of things they've seen, write stories about family secrets. She's 10 years old. She doesn't know anything. She knows I exist. She knows I wasn't really out west. And if the right person starts asking the right questions about where you got the money for this house, for Sarah's car, for Lily's private school tuition..." Tom's voice dropped to almost a whisper. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying we have a problem, and problems need solutions." Lily's blood turned to ice. "If she opens her mouth to the wrong person, we both go down. I'll handle the Lily problem. Tonight after the party, one way or another." That's when Lily ran. Not outside to tell her mother, not to find a phone to call for help. She ran upstairs to her bedroom, her mind racing faster than her feet, because Lily Morris was a smart girl. Smart enough to know that adults don't always believe children. Smart enough to know that accusing Uncle Greg would just be her word against his. And smart enough to know that she needed proof if she wanted to survive. The night. What happened next shows you exactly what kind of child Lily Morris was. While other kids her age might have panicked, cried, or run to their parents, Lily sat on her bed and thought. She had maybe 3 hours before the party ended and guests went home. 3 hours before she'd be alone with her family and Uncle Greg. First, she grabbed her mother's old digital camera, the one Sarah had upgraded from the year before but kept as a backup. Then she found something even more valuable, her father's work laptop, which he'd left open on his desk downstairs. Lily had been using computers since she was 6. She knew how to record videos, save files, and most importantly, she knew how to hide them. She positioned the camera on her dresser, pressed record, and sat on her bed. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. "If you're watching this," she began, "it means I'm gone. Not because I ran away, but because someone at my party wants to hurt me to keep a secret." She explained everything she'd overheard, every detail she could remember. She named Uncle Greg, described his car, even mentioned the marks on his wrists. That looked like handcuff burns. But here's the brilliant part. She didn't just record one video. She recorded 3. The first was a detailed account of the conversation. The second was her describing Greg's suspicious behavior throughout the party. And the third? That was her insurance policy. "I'm going to hide this where someone will find it, but only if something happens to me. Uncle Greg thinks he's smart, but he doesn't know that I've been watching him too. He keeps looking at the back gate, like he's planning something. And he asked Mom about my bedtime. Why would he care unless he was planning to wait until I was asleep?" She saved all 3 videos onto a USB drive her dad had given her for school projects. But where to hide it? Her room was too obvious. Outside was too risky. What if it rained or got buried? Then her eyes fell on the one place no one would think to look until it was too late to save her, but not too late to catch her killer. The birthday cake. Lily had helped her mom bake enough cakes to know their structure. She knew that Mrs. Henderson at the bakery always put a layer of thick frosting between each tier, and she knew that the cake wouldn't be cut until the very end of the party. Traditional candle blowing, pictures first, then slices for everyone. She wrapped the USB drive in plastic wrap from the kitchen, grabbed a butter knife, and went to work. The cake was sitting on the dining room table, magnificent and untouched. Lily carefully lifted the top tier, carved out a small space in the bottom layer, inserted her wrapped evidence, and put everything back together. A little extra frosting smoothed over the evidence of her work, and no one would ever know. Then she did something that showed just how smart she really was. She told her mother that the cake was so beautiful, no one should cut it until she said it was okay. "It's too pretty to destroy right away, Mom. Can we wait?" Sarah thought it was sweet. Tom was distracted by his brother's unexpected arrival. And Greg? Greg had no idea that his 10-year-old niece had just outsmarted him before he'd even made his move. By 5 p.m., everything was in place. The evidence was hidden, her message was recorded, and Lily had to wait to see if her plan would work. She didn't have to wait long. The party was winding down. Kids were getting tired, parents were checking their watches, and the afternoon sun was starting to fade behind the trees. Time for cake. Sarah announced, and everyone gathered around the dining room table that had been moved to the back patio. 37 people formed a semicircle around Lily and her beautiful cake. Tom had his camera ready. Sarah was holding the lighter for the candles. And Greg? Greg was standing directly behind Lily, his hands resting on her shoulders in what looked like an affectionate uncle's gesture. But Lily could feel how tense his grip was. She could smell something sharp and chemical on his clothes, like the cleaning supplies from the garage. And she noticed that he'd moved his car closer to the back gate while everyone was distracted. "Make a wish, sweetheart," Sarah said, dimming the patio lights. The crowd began to sing, "Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you." Lily closed her eyes, not to make a wish, but to prepare herself for what came next. "Happy birthday, dear Lily." She felt Greg's hands tighten on her shoulders. "Happy birthday to you." Everyone cheered. Cameras flashed. And in that moment of celebration and chaos, with everyone's attention focused on the cake and the candles, Greg Morris made his move. But here's what the witnesses saw. Lily leaning forward to blow out her candles, Greg stepping back to give her room, everyone clapping and cheering. When Sarah reached for the light switch to brighten the patio again, she expected to see her daughter's face glowing with joy. Instead, she saw an empty space. Where Lily had been standing, the chair was still there. The cake was untouched, candles still smoking, but Lily was gone. "Lily," Sarah called out, confusion in her voice rather than panic. Not yet. People looked around. Maybe she'd run to the bathroom. Maybe she was hiding, playing a joke. "Lily Rose Morris, this isn't funny," Tom called out, but his voice had an edge that made the other parents look at each other with concern. Greg was the picture of worried uncle. "She was just here," he said, looking around frantically. Where could she have gone? 5 minutes became 10. 10 became 20. Adults spread out through the house, the yard, the neighborhood. Kids were questioned. Had they seen Lily leave? Had she said anything about going somewhere? Nothing. Bobby, the balloon artist, checked his van. The bouncy castle was thoroughly searched. Parents called other parents, thinking maybe Lily had left with another family by mistake. But deep down, everyone knew. Children don't just vanish from their own birthday parties surrounded by dozens of people. This wasn't a game of hide-and-seek gone wrong. This was something much worse. At 6:47 p.m., exactly 2 hours after Lily's disappearance, Sarah Morris made the call that would change everything. 1. What's your emergency? My daughter is missing. She disappeared from her birthday party, and we can't find her anywhere. Detective Maria Santos had been working missing children cases for 8 years, and she'd never seen anything quite like this. 37 witnesses, broad daylight, a secured backyard with only 2 exits, the front gate and the back gate, both of which had been in view of multiple adults throughout the party. Yet somehow, a 10-year-old girl had vanished without a single person seeing her leave. The first responders arrived at 7:03 p.m. By 7:30, the backyard looked like a crime scene, which Detective Santos was increasingly certain it was. "I need to interview everyone who was here," she told Tom and Sarah, starting with family members. Greg Morris was cooperative, helpful even. He'd been standing right behind Lily when she disappeared, he explained. He was trying to get a good photo of the moment she blew out her candles. He showed Detective Santos the pictures on his phone, several shots of the crowd, the cake, even one that captured the exact moment the lights went out. But what struck Santos as odd was that there were no pictures of Lily actually blowing out the candles. For someone who claimed he wanted to capture the moment, Greg had certainly missed the most important shot. "The timing is strange," Santos confided to her partner, Detective James Chen. "Whoever did this knew exactly when to act. They knew the lights would go out. They knew where everyone would be looking, and they knew how to get her out of there without being seen." "Inside job?" Chen suggested. "Has to be. But who?" They ran background checks on everyone at the party. Bobby the balloon artist, clean record, had been performing at children's parties for 12 years. The caterer, local business owner, 3 kids of her own. The neighbors, longtime residents. No red flags. But when they ran Gregory Morris's name, everything changed. Released from Mansfield Correctional just 8 weeks ago. Embezzlement, fraud, and this was the detail that made Santos's blood run cold. He'd been suspected in the disappearance of another child 3 years earlier, though charges were never filed due to lack of evidence. "Bring him in," Santos ordered. But when they went to find Greg Morris, they discovered he'd left the party around 6 p.m., claiming he needed to get back on the road for his drive back to Colorado. His car was gone. His cell phone was going straight to voicemail. And Tom Morris looked like he was going to be sick. "There's something you need to know about my brother," Tom finally admitted. What he told them next painted a picture of family secrets, borrowed money, and a man who'd made it clear that Lily was a threat to his freedom. He said what exactly? Santos asked, her voice deadly calm. That she was a problem, that she might talk to the wrong people. "And you didn't think to mention this earlier?" Tom broke down. The guilt, the fear, the realization that his own choices had put his daughter in danger, it all came pouring out. But Detective Santos wasn't interested in Tom's guilt. She was interested in finding Lily Morris before it was too late. They put out a BOLO alert on Greg's vehicle. They contacted his parole officer. They checked every hotel, rest stop, and gas station within a 100-mile radius. And that's when Sarah Morris said something that changed the entire direction of the investigation. "The cake," she whispered, staring at the beautiful 3-tier creation that still sat untouched on the patio table. "Lily made me promise not to cut the cake until she said it was okay. She was so insistent about it." "What if what?" Santos asked. "What if she knew something was going to happen?